What is up guys, Crimson here, and welcome to my review of the Alpha 18 update for Prison Architect. Now, first of all, apologies for the slight change in my voice and sniffling and stuff. It's because I've managed to get myself a cold. No idea how I've managed to do it, but you know, that's life. So anyway, the Alpha 18 update for Prison Architect has, in a slight way, almost broken the game to a point where I've got about 3 or 4 prisons that run on my game, and one of them was dependent on about 8 workshops, which gave me just over, I think it was 12k plus per day in wood and sheets and stuff like that, and carpet and yeah, wood and metal sheets. Um, but since this update came in, that's now dropped down to minus 6k just because I've lost all of that. I mean, I don't see why they. I'd like to when an update comes in like that, I'd like to have a trial period of the old version, so that you can get to a point where you can safely move on to the updated things. Because if you just had like a major riot or something in your prison just before an update goes out, that's pretty much the whole just prison just screwed over. I mean, unless you like want to cheat and go into save files and like give yourself back some of your money, that's pretty much like your whole prison done and gone. I mean, there's so many things in this game now that can just say, hey, you've had like 20 hours worth of in-game time, or like 20 hours worth of legit like playtime in this prison. We're gonna fuck you over in 5 minutes, and you're not gonna be able to play this prison anymore because it's not gonna be like profitable, and it's just gonna screw you over. And I understand that it's still an alpha, and I understand that there will be some things that will make that kind of stuff happen. But I really think they need to look into how they can stop that from happening. And I really think that the education system and bringing in the reform system has screwed over a lot of people. Now, the best way that I got around this was I have a 400 plus prison in the game, and I made 3 classrooms that were 20 by 30, and basically just completely filled them with school desks like right next to each other. You don't need to give them space in between, just stack them in like crazy and you'll get the prisons in there. Okay? And then go into your programs and just keep on clicking on them. Just keep on clicking on start until it says all rooms booked. That is legitimately the best way you can get all your prisoners through the reform system as fast as possible, and get your prison back up and running to the state it was before the Alpha 18 update. There are still some slight glitches and problems with the reform system, which is I've noticed that sometimes if a prisoner misses a lesson, then his whole course will be cancelled and he'll have to start again. Now that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, like you're gonna like have prisoners missing ones here and there because of like riots or lockdowns, or they get put in solitary or something like that, and it's gonna happen. But I've had a massive rage about the reform and education programs and system in the update, because there's so many problems with them, and it's a massive addition to the game, and they haven't sorted out the problems with it before they've put in a massive addition to the game. It's like it wouldn't matter so much if it was a like a small update, but it had a few like medium-sized problems in it. Okay, like maybe 1 or 2 medium-sized problems in it, and it was just a small part of an update. But the fact that this part of the update will make pretty much your entire prison grind to a complete halt, and they still have loads of little tiny glitches and problems in it, which then grind the whole part of that update to a halt. That's game breaking. That's like, I don't care whether it's an alpha or whether it's been released in a full game for a year and a half. That's a game breaking part of an update, and they shouldn't have been allowed to release that without fixing that first, because you've basically like broken a major part of the game, which is going to grind people's prisons to a complete halt and end up rendering their prison useless because they've either run out of money or their prisoners just sit in their rooms every day because they're not interested in any of the programs. Now, moving on from the reform and training programs to the prisoner experience. Now, I've already said multiple times that I absolutely love this part of the update. I use this part so often. Um, I use it regularly with the 50 or so maximum security prisoners that I have in my massive prison, because it's really nice to see whether comparing them to like the low security prisoners, to see whether they're actually getting the things done that they're supposed to be getting done, and how pissed off things are making them, because it really helps you to like change the regime to get the optimum out of your prisoners, because there's no point having a good regime and a good prison layout and stuff if your prisoners can't be bothered to do anything because they're in solitary or lockdown for half the time. So I really like that part of it, and I also like that it shows you exactly where they are on each program, what programs they haven't passed yet, what programs they have passed yet, and the chance of them passing on the current program that they're on. I think that's a really helpful part of the game, and for once, they haven't put in a massive part of the game that's not game breaking. So yeah, I think that's a really like helpful part to the I would almost call it the UI system, because it's not like it doesn't physically affect anything actually in game. It just gives you information on how your prisoners are actually doing. So I'd call it a really major good part addition to the UI system of the game. So moving on to the armor upgrades. Now, these you have to be careful with, like really careful with, because a lot of people, a lot of people have thought that once you upgrade your guys in the bureaucracy menu, once you upgrade them, and then you hire new guys, then those new guys will spawn in as the original guards, and then go and get their new stuff. They spawn in with all their stuff, making guards really expensive. Um, to be completely honest with you, I find that the guards work really well when you just do the taser rollout and you don't bother with the body armor, because I mean guards are gonna die. It's gonna happen, and body armor is just gonna like slightly slow the effect of that. But the speed effect, and the speed decrease that it gives you compared to the amount of time extra that they'll be there, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. I'd rather have, say, 15. No, sorry. I'd rather have, say, 30 guards with taser rollout and no body armor than I would have, say, 5 or 10 guards with body armor and taser rollout, because those 30 guards are going to be able to do more. They're going to be able to get places faster, and they're going to be there in numbers and in force. Whereas, like, for example, you're going to get further on a battlefield if you have 10,000 men with rifles and no armor compared to if you go onto that battlefield with 50 like I don't know like tanks or like mechs or something with massive great rocket launchers and miniguns and cannons on them. You're going to go further with the 10,000 men, and I don't care what anyone says, you are going to go further with the numbers. Numbers will always beat strength. So, personally, I don't use the body armor on any of my guards because I honestly just don't think it's worth it. So, after the 3 parts that have been added to the game, which 2 parts are really helpful, 1 part is just game breaking problems. I'd like to now touch on the fixes and tweaks and stuff that have been into the game. So I've used the UI scaling in the game already a lot, and it's very good. It gets the menu, apart from the clock. It doesn't work on the clock though. Um, it gets the menus out of the way and it gets them out of your face, so you can concentrate on like doing stuff. If you don't want to be adding any items to the game, or you don't want to be like making new like expansions and stuff, it's really good to get those features just out of the way and off the screen and like not in your face, so you don't have to worry about them. You can just worry about what you're actually doing within the game. The only slight problem to it is that there are some graphical issues to it, but I'm hoping those will be fixed in the next update. Um, the major problem I find to it is if your game is paused and you change the UI scaling, it unpauses your game. Now this can actually like really affect you if you're right in the middle of a riot and you want to get those items out of your way, and you've paused that game, and then you just change the scaling, and it's like, why is the riot carrying on? Oh wait. And though literally, Prison Architect is one of those games where, in the middle of a riot, getting your guards there like 5 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds earlier than they would have otherwise can be the difference between, in some situations, can be the difference between half of your prisoners escaping and all the prisoners that are rioting getting arrested and put in solitary or lockdown, depending on what your policies are. So it does affect the way the game runs a bit because of the unpausing, but overall I think it's a nice addition to the game, if I'm honest. Um, the room toolbars, it does telling you the number of rooms you have is helpful in some ways, and just some of them you don't need them. Like the cells, you don't need to know how many number of cells you've got. You've already got at the top of the screen in your info bar right at the top. You don't need to know how many. The things that are helpful are like the amount of workshops you have, because then you can calculate how many prisoners are going to be working and how many are going to be sitting their ass doing nothing. The amount of solitary cells you have, so you know if you get stuck in a riot, how long it's going to take to get your prisoners back into the system again, and not just sitting in solitary. So some parts of it are really helpful, some parts of it aren't. Also, the fog of war effect not being in time-lapse videos anymore. It's not really, it's not really a game-changing thing, but it's a nice addition to the game, and it's just a nice aesthetic. God, I can't say that word. Um, yeah, it's a nice thing to add to the game. Just it's always those little tiny touches that just change the way the whole game runs, and the things you can do to the game, and the things that you want to do with the game. It's a nice little touch for things. Um, this video is becoming quite long, so I'm gonna skip through some of the ones that don't really matter and just touch on the ones that really do matter. Um, so they finally fixed the dogs, finally. So they will actually like go on their patrols, because I did have a prison where I would hire dogs. They would go on their patrols, and then the dog handlers would go into the kennel, and then the dogs would just sit like outside the door, just saying like exhausted, can't find kennel. It's like, you're 5 feet away from it, mate. um, the armed guards sometimes shouting at the prisoners does, in the overall effect, it does save your prisoners. It does keep your prisoner count up, and it also, in that way, will affect how much you can sell your prison for if you want to sell it in the end. Um, and then you just have other tiny little things. The visitation ending immediately during a riot or a bang up, that's big. That's going to affect the family trait. That's going to affect the family trait, which is then going to affect the heat level a lot. Um, and the last one I'll touch on is that you can now build utilities under the road, so that you don't have to have completely separate systems for each side of the prison. If you're building prisons from one side of the road to the other, you're not going to have completely separate systems, and you can now build the utilities under the road, which is, it's helpful. It does help. I've used it already quite a few times, and it's helpful. Um, what I'd really like to see is that you can move the direction of the deliveries coming in, so you can move the road of where the deliveries come in. But I think that would be quite intense to actually try and do. Um, yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if they can do that. Um, with concerns to Alpha 19, um, I'm not really sure what I want to see in there. Um, some bug fixes would be nice. I've had an idea for a, well, I've had an idea for two mods. One's called the Mad World mod, which is like a total conversion pretty much mod that's gonna tweak a lot of things. But I will have to wait and see if Introvision will allow you to edit the way the AI works before I can look into making that. Um, and the other one is a mod that might increase your FPS by quite a lot, because it changes the way the game handles the information for items. So I will touch on that more later on once I've got that all sorted. Um, as far as Alpha 19 is concerned, I'd like to see, I know it's a really weird thing, but I'd like to see watchtowers on the edge of prisons, so you can have advanced warning if anyone's escaping. Um, I'd like to see them fix the fog of war bugs, because there's still certain times where staff and stuff can see through walls, and it's like it takes a good like few minutes for an area to go dark once a staff member has left it. It's like as soon as they leave it, you're gonna have no view over there, so you shouldn't be able to see over there. Um, I've seen a lot of prisons recently going for the minimal guards, loads of security cameras. I'm gonna give that a try, and I will show you that prison next Friday in my prison architect video next Friday. I'll show you how that's gone. Um, as far as Alpha 19 goes, I think that's all that I want to see. Again, a performance increase would be nice, because the thing is, like, when you have a performance increase, everyone's always like, oh yeah, my massive prisons can now run at like 30 FPS. I know, let's make it even bigger. So you're always gonna have people complaining about performance issues, but that's just part of what a game is really. It's just part of what indies and alphas are. So anyway, this has been quite a long update video. It hasn't been as detailed or in depth as I would have liked to have done, but again, I haven't had as much time as I would like to play the game. So thank you very much for listening to this. I'm really sorry about my cold. It's really pissing me off so much that I can't do some of the videos I want to do. Um, and I will see you guys for, oh yeah, Solitary on Sunday. I'm so sorry it didn't go up. We had some major messes up, and for some reason some of my software that I was using to record it wasn't working, and it messed up completely. So that will be going that will be recorded sometime this week, and it will be going up this Sunday, and then next Sunday we'll have the mid-month podcast for any other bugs that we found. Um, so yeah, I will see you on Sunday with the Solitary podcast. Bit late, but apologies for that. And I'll also see you next Friday for my next Prison Architect video, and then the Sunday after that for my mid-month podcast. So thank you very much for listening, guys. As always, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to keep up with my daily content, and I will see you guys next week.